what's going on? It is Monday, the 12th of February. So yeah, did not even go a week and already missed my Sunday deadline, huh? So I originally was going to do the video on Saturday, didn't happen. We went out and did some things, and then Sunday, of course, the Taylor Swift Super Bowl was happening. So pretty full day yesterday. So didn't get around to making a video yesterday either. So it's Monday now. So figured I would try and keep up my end of the bargain and get on here and shoot the video and get it up. So this week, what did I do this week for my transition as I retire from the Air Force? So it was a pretty busy week this week. So I'm still, roughly I'm about 4 months out from being able to start a SkillBridge. And just the kind of upfront piece of that is most companies, it's really hard for them to do much until about 60 days out, especially if you're looking for a company where you're also trying to find an open position and you're trying to find a skill bridge that has potential to lead to a full-time gig afterwards. Now, if you're looking at doing something like Allegiant Vets, there's some other ones out there where they pretty much just put you on a education track or a training track, something like that. They have a little bit more flexibility and can go ahead and start the onboarding process and start that SkillBridge application earlier than those 60 days. But what I've quickly learned and kind of knew already, and it makes sense, is that you're going to be hard to find a company that's can say yes any earlier than 60 days whenever you're looking for something that might turn into a long-term gig, especially if you're also trying to do a skill bridge for 4 to 6 months. I'm shooting to do one for about 5 months. So it's really hard for an organization to be like, yeah, we've got a position for you come December, January. So I have limited expectations on that being a reality. So going into this and looking for a skill bridge and, whatever company I end up going with, I already have that in my mind that this might not end up being a full-time opportunity at the end. But again, I want to use SkillBridge and I want to use at least be able to use it to get, some civilian skills, so to speak. So with that said, again, like this week was a really focused on SkillBridge. With that, I had three, I guess you could kind of call them like interviews, kind of like onboarding interviews with ultimately, some of them were with specific SkillBridge recruiters for a company. So it was a very like soft open. It was kind of just hey, we got your application. You're interested in it. Are these your firm dates? What are you looking to do? And then on their end, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we provide as a SkillBridge company. These are maybe some of the open areas that we might be able to bring you into the organization. So that to me, it's like, again, it's just kind of a soft interview, just kind of get an idea of what you're looking for and what they have open. So I had one of those. And then they were one of the companies that are like, hey, it's probably closer to 60, maybe 90 days. We'll have a little bit better idea of what we can bring you into. But they are one of the companies that are kind of known to bring you in and have a job for you at the end. So that's nice. But again, I really can't do much with them until that 60, maybe 90-day window. So it's just an option that'll just kind of sit there in the back. The other individual recruiter that I had a interview with was a company that ultimately I think the best word to describe them is almost kind of like I feel like they are headhunters for you. So they, using their network, they kind of work with companies that have the potential to host you as a SkillBridge intern. The thing that with them is, they're going out and finding positions that, again, are going to lead to a full-time gig. So they are, looking for something that matches up with you very well. And, they're presenting you to the company as though you're going to come on as a full-time employee. So that's kind of cool to kind of know that up front going in. The big thing with them is, again, it's finding something that matches your skills and finding an opening, and then from there, they kind of connect you with the company directly. You'll start working with their recruiting and their onboarding people, and it kind of they take over from there. The company, the headhunter company, so to speak, they kind of step back, let the organization themselves handle things, and from there you pretty much are going through the process like a regular employee. You're going to be interviewed like a regular employee. So you got to be prepared for that. Some of these organizations, they're not super familiar with the SkillBridge program. Hiring managers are still trying to figure it out, how it works and things like that. So you could end up in an interview with a panel that really doesn't know much about the SkillBridge piece. They're looking at you as a full time employee. So you got to be prepared for that for sure. But it was really cool that that company exists. I haven't found really too many companies out there like that in the SkillBridge world. So that was pretty interesting to come across them. So definitely do your Googling. You'll come across them pretty easily. And if it's something you think that's kind of the route you want to take to find a SkillBridge, I would definitely recommend contacting them, filling out their a contact page. I think you upload your resume and stuff like that, and then they'll call you or email you and set up a 15-20 minute call just to kind of figure out what you're wanting to do. And that allows them to kind of tailor what SkillBridge, what opportunities they go out and find for you, and in turn send to you to be recommended for. So again, really cool opportunity that exists. So definitely something to kind of look into. Again, something that I'll keep my eye on and just kind of see what my liaison can find for me through that path, because that'd be kind of cool as well to be able to go through that process and actually know you've got a full-time job at the end, right? Pretty neat. And then that was two, right? Yep, so third. So yes, I did have a third interview with a company. The original interview was probably about 10-15 minutes, just a phone call with their SkillBridge recruiter. They are a pretty big company that are just kind of getting into the SkillBridge realm. So they've not had a lot of SkillBridge internships yet, but it's something they're eager to dive into and start recruiting more individuals for it. So after the original phone call with the recruiter, from there I had a additional interview with kind of like their HR team, just kind of see what I was interested in doing, my timeline, all that stuff. Just kind of it was kind of more like a softball interview. It really wasn't really hard, crazy questions or anything like that necessarily based on my skills. It was more based off of personality, give you, scenarios and how you kind of would deal with them and how would you react to them, more in the people world and not necessarily, your specific skill set. So that was cool. It was good to go through that process. And then with them, they are able to go ahead and say, yes, we will bring you on, but they are one of the companies that at this time they can't guarantee a position up front. Especially again, my timeline is December, January before I'll be ready to work full time for them. So again, it's one of those things. I'm very understanding of that, but just kind of one of those things I have to keep in the back of my head. It's like, oh, this is one of the ones that I feel like I really want to SkillBridge with, just because of the opportunity to learn things and stuff like that. So I got to kind of look at it and remember that, like, hey, I'm going to probably walk away with some pretty good skills that'll probably land me a gig somewhere, even if it's not with this particular company. So that's just kind of one of the things to keep in mind as you go through the process of looking for a SkillBridge. So that's kind of how my week went, again, dealing with those three companies and SkillBridge. I'll keep looking. I'm not going to just like put all my eggs in one basket and be like, oh, this is the company I'm going to go with. I'm done looking. Da 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 da. Nope, I'll keep looking. I'll keep seeing what's out there and checking. And, just kind of good to have options, really. And again, most of these companies aren't ready to even bring you on, start the process of the SkillBridge application until about 60 days out. So, start early, give yourself some options, and that way you're not having to like wait to the last minute to frantically try and find something. Have a few options and, go ahead and get familiar with their process of how they do SkillBridge, how they're going to bring you on, things like that, because it'll give you an idea of how much time you're going to need to actually process your application and get it signed and all that good stuff. So it's good to understand a company's timeline as far as when they bring you on. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this video dealing with SkillBridge is finding SkillBridges, looking for SkillBridges, things like that. So there's a lot of information out there on the SkillBridge program. It's, the power of the internet, we're lucky. I see a lot of people though asking pretty basic SkillBridge questions, especially on Facebook groups and Reddit. And so if you come across my video, you're watching this and you're one of those people that's kind of struggling to figure out a SkillBridge, find a company with a SkillBridge, some things I've found that have kind of turned over maybe some hidden SkillBridges that you might not see blasted on the SkillBridge website itself, or 50 Strong, or Vets to PM. There's a lot of job boards that show SkillBridges, but a lot of times just simply Googling a title to what you want to do, putting SkillBridge at the end, you'll get a lot of results like that, and you'll find a lot of companies that you'll be like, oh wow, I didn't realize they had a SkillBridge program. So that's one way to find some stuff. And then another way, LinkedIn, really use LinkedIn. It's solid. Going on there, looking under jobs, again, put the title of what you're looking for, follow that up with hashtag SkillBridge. And again, it does a really good job of spitting out results for companies and things like that. And it gives you an idea of looking at something by an actual job, by a job posting and a real title, not just like project manager. Figure out, do you want to be a construction project manager? Do you want to be an IT project manager? Niche it down to a field, to an actual title, and search for SkillBridges based off that. And I think you'll end up having a lot better results than just tossing stuff out there /SkillBridge. At least that's what's worked for me. That's been the big thing is, getting on Glassdoor, getting on Indeed, getting on LinkedIn, and going and looking at jobs and looking at actual titles of jobs, and not just be like, oh, I'm kind of interested in doing something in human resources, or I'm interested in doing something in software development. Go find actual titles and positions for those jobs, and I think you'll have a lot more success. It's also nice because then you can take that job description and start tailoring your resume directly onto an actual position. And it also gives you, in a lot of cases, you can find salaries by doing that, and that gives you a starting point when it comes time to start negotiating salaries and stuff. You kind of have an idea of what that specific title and position at a company should be paying. And so you have a little bit better understanding of what you should be asking for as far as compensation goes whenever you do get to that point. But on the SkillBridge front, again, kind of niche yourself down. Really figure out exactly what you're wanting to do. What do you want your title to be when you get out of the military? And I think if you do that, you'll have a lot more success of finding a more fitting SkillBridge opportunity out there. And again, you'll find a lot more companies as well that'll pop up by doing that. At least that's what I found. I think two of the companies that I spoke with this past week, they were ones that I found by doing that. I don't even think I came across them on any other website or SkillBridge source. I think I simply found them, I think one through LinkedIn, and then the other found them through Google, because I found a title of a position I wanted to be, put that in, hit SkillBridge. I got like 5 or 6 results. I started going through there and finding ones that are remote, because I want to do a remote SkillBridge. And then bam, that's when I was like, oh, this company looks like they could work out perfectly for me. They have positions of what I want to actually do. The pay looks like it would work for me. And finally, the big thing again for me was the remote aspect of it. So again, just kind of utilizing those resources are going to be your best bet. At the end of the day, I mean, with SkillBridge and with anything, being your own advocate is your best avenue really to finding something that's going to be beneficial for you. Just jumping on a Facebook group or jumping in Reddit and saying, hey, I've got 20 years of experience leading people, I need a SkillBridge. Like, that's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to get anywhere with that. So do your own due diligence, figure out what you really actually want to do, and start looking for SkillBridges based off of that actual title and not just, project management. The other thing I would say with the SkillBridge process is be open. Start writing a resume, have a resume of kind of a general idea, general career field you want to get into. From there, try and find people that work in that career field, have them look at your resume, and just kind of see if they can help you tailor it down. Again, like I said, using job descriptions works really well for that, but also just having people in the industry look at your resume helps a lot. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of companies out there where there's people that volunteer to do that anyways for military, but you can find and have a lot of success by going on LinkedIn, put people's name, or not people's name, but put, a job title in the search. It's going to populate people that have that job title. Click on them, send them a message, tell them who you are, what you're doing, why you're reaching out, and say, hey, what you do is kind of something I'm trying to do in the future. Would you mind looking at my resume and tell me, how it looks? And you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help other people, especially when it comes to something like that. It's just another good avenue, another good resource to utilize. LinkedIn is a really solid source. As you're getting ready to leave the military, there's a lot of prior military people on there that put a lot of content out there on LinkedIn. And so it's a really good place to just get a lot of information easily. And again, just learning how to search for the right things is going to be your best bet on anything when it comes to SkillBridge, or really just anything during this transition process. But yeah, that's really it for this week. That's kind of how the SkillBridge process went for me so far. Like I said, I'm going to keep looking, try and still have my options open, see what's out there, see what I can find. But that was kind of week one of it. And it was nice to kind of go ahead and get that under my belt, kind of go ahead and start making those contacts, having those phone calls, doing video calls, all that stuff, just really making sure that, I had the capabilities to do that. I would also recommend going through, making sure you have, a personal Microsoft Teams account, a personal Zoom account, and a personal Google Meet account. Those are the 3 different ones that I used this week. And make sure you have them tied to like a professional account. Like my Google account is probably something that I've had for 20 years. It was probably a goofy name or something like that attached to it. I didn't want to, log in as Batman 007 or something like that. I'd be like, what? So make sure you maybe set up a professional account ahead of time so you're kind of prepared whenever you start going through this process. Whatever the recruiter or the interviewer sends to you, you'll be ready and have, an actual account set up and be able to log into it and make sure that you're going to be able to actually participate in the call, and have a camera on. I think two out of my 3 calls this week were camera on. So there was only one that was only via phone. And like I said, that was one of the ones that was only about 15 minutes with an onboarding recruiter. And then I was passed over to, the actual hiring individuals, and they did a on camera with me. So just kind of be prepared for that. Understand the technology that you have, and that, it's not just going to be Zoom. Like I said, Microsoft Teams and Google Meet were also utilized, so be familiar with them as well, and just have those accounts set up, and just make sure that you have the means to be able to, take calls, whether it be, that's the nice thing, you can do all of that through your phone. Have, some good headphones so you can hear them and they can hear you. And then my last tip is, anytime you're doing those, make sure you hit the unmute button before you start talking, because most of the time these rooms are set up where when you enter them, you're automatically muted. It only got me one time. Out of the 3, there was only one time that I started talking before hitting the unmute. So just a little tip there for you. Remember to check the mute button before you start yakking. But yeah, that's really it. That's kind of how my week went with SkillBridge. This week, got just some other stuff going on. I got a couple of medical appointments, and then I've got another 2 days of TAP. I think I'm doing the education track this week. So kind of more just focused on that this week. And then, so yeah, next week, that's probably what I'll talk about, kind of dive into the education piece a little bit, and see where we go from there. But ultimately, I hope, throughout this, I can provide some value to anyone out there that's thinking about leaving the military, whether you're retiring or separating. Hopefully, these weekly videos will kind of give you an insight of what to do, what to be aware of, and things like that. Whether it be this year, next year, 5 years from now, whenever you decide to bounce. Hopefully you'll get some values out of these videos. So if this is something that you're interested in seeing each week, I would appreciate the hitting the subscribe button, give me a like, and like I said, I'm gonna try and usually drop these on Sundays. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for watching. Peace.